the Rotary Club of Fresno's Monday meeting. It's meeting number, I love this, 4,870. The fact that we have this for over 100 years of history. We have our total meeting count there. So 4,870 today. Thank you to our many guests. I know we have several guests that are on today that are here to hear our speakers. So appreciate all of you joining us here. We also have, as we've done the last several weeks, we have a fun poll there. So Anna, would you mind go ahead and launch that poll? It's always a secret to me sometimes too what the poll is going to be, and I love that. So for Thanksgiving, what are you planning to do? Stay at home and cook, stay at home and order a meal, stay close by and dine at family and friends, stay close by and dine out, planning to travel more than 3 hours away. I bet this is a lot different response this year than most of you have other years. And so fill that out and we'll get back to that here later on. Also want to recognize that we have a few Rotarians with birthdays this week. It's for their November birthdays. So we have on this Friday the 13th, Melissa White and Jennifer Army. You're going to hear from Melissa a little bit. So happy birthday on Friday. On Saturday, Gus Bonner and Lorna Lathrop. And on Sunday, Davina Witcher. So happy birthday to all of our fellow Rotarians who have birthdays today. And then as far as for, let me see here. I haven't went all the way through. Tyler, are you on yet?
Right here, Ryan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. What's up, Tyler? So
yeah,
with my Zoom bomb of the day is our councilman-elect for the Fresno City Council, Tyler Maxwell. Tyler, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Ryan, thank you for the invitation. Rotary Club, thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be able to speak to you. I haven't had the chance to address you yet, but I just wanted to take the time to say hello. As of January 5th, I will be sworn in as council member for District number 4, which is East Central Fresno. Perhaps even some of you live in the district. So just wanted to come by and introduce myself and say hello to all of you.
And that's a big district, right, Tyler? I mean, you're talking Fresno State all the way over to the eastern side or the eastern border there.
Yeah, so we have, Ryan, we have Fresno State to the north. We go down Blackstone. We have Fashion Fair Mall. We go all the way south to Shields. We go all the way east past the airport, all the way to DeWolf Avenue. So we are the largest geographic district. Because our district is continuously growing out east, we also have one of the largest populations. So we're almost 80,000 people in the district.
Got it. And Tyler, you're what do they call them? Boomerangs? Is that the right term? I'm trying to think here, but you grew up in Fresno and then went away and came back. So tell us a little bit about your story there.
Yeah, that's right, Ryan. You know, my family, we've lived in District 4 going back to my great-grandparents. I grew up in the same house my great-grandpa bought years ago, and so we have deep roots in the district. You know, unfortunately, my family, we fell on some hard times, right? You know, not unlike a lot of people in Fresno, you know, there was drugs and alcohol. It was rough. You know, my family experienced homelessness. I had the incredible opportunity of getting a full ride tuition to UC Berkeley. And, you know, I thought that was my ticket the heck out of Fresno. To be honest with you, I was never going to come back. I thought this was my chance to kind of move on and start a new life. But, you know, I got my degrees and there's just something about Fresno that, you know, everyone says they're going to leave and never come back. But it's that sense of home and that sense of family that, you know, personally brought me back. And I came back in 2016, Ryan. I've worked for Fresno County Probation, Victim Services, domestic violence victims. I've worked in the courts for criminal and juvenile judges. I was a crime scene investigator for Fresno Police Department and an investigator with the Public Defender's Office. So public safety is kind of my background. That's something really important to me. And public safety is going to be my top issue as I go into city council come January.
Great. And I was just going to ask you what the priorities are, but it sounds like definitely public safety is one of them. And I know that's a big issue for Fresno's everywhere.
It's for me, it's the 3 Ps, Ryan. So public safety, you know, our police and our firefighters, the frontline workers put their lives on the line every single day and night that they go out there, making sure people feel safe. That's always going to be my top priority. The other 2 Ps, we have public works. That's our streets, our roads, our sidewalks, our curbs, our gutters, our lights, the tree trimming. District 4 is starting to see a lot of neglect. You know, once upon a time when my family moved there, it was North Fresno, right? But now considered inner city or central Fresno. So making sure that we have good infrastructure throughout the district. And the last P is parks. We have over $300 million in deferred maintenance to the city parks. I personally have about 10 city parks in my district. Once upon a time, they were assets to the neighborhood. That's why you would move into a neighborhood. It was a park for your family to go play, barbecue, socialize. Now it's become a liability. There's deferred maintenance. Doesn't look as good. We have homeless encampments. So making sure that we make our parks welcoming to families again. Those are going to be my top priorities right there.
Well, great, Tyler. And this is a, I don't know if the term's honeymoon period, but a long one, because you won your election in March and you're waiting until January. So Rotary is all about connections. What's the best way that folks, if they might live in your district or just have general questions for you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. My email is going to be my first name dot last name. So it's going to be Tyler, Tyler dot Maxwell, Maxwell at Fresno.gov. So if you have any questions, if you're looking to connect over the phone or, you know, maybe meet up for a coffee eventually, shoot me an email. Like Ryan said, I got 2 more months till I take office. I'm trying to connect with as many folks and organizations as possible and listen to concerns and ideas for the city. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and just shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to meet up and talk with you.
Well, thank you, Tyler. Congratulations again on your election there, and look forward to seeing you in office on January 5th, and appreciate you being our Zoom bomb for the day.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It was nice to be on and address all of you. Look forward to talking to you all very soon.
Thank you so much. Well, Miss Nicole Linder, you are my Rotarian board member of the day, and so I am going to give me 1 second here. I assume you're on, right, Nicole?
I'm here.
Fantastic. I got Kaylina from my office pulling up some pictures. So I always love to start with Nicole, and I think most of us know, but tell us about your position and your job over there at the Marjorie Mason Center.
Thanks, Ryan. So yes, I have been executive director at Marjorie Mason Center for over 4 years now. For those of you who don't know, Marjorie Mason Center has been around for 42 years as MMC and over 100 years as the previous YWCA. And we specifically are the dedicated provider of comprehensive domestic violence support services. So we serve over 8,500 people a year, adults and children, and represent Fresno County. So that's a little bit about MMC. This was our top 10 awards last year when we clearly got to be there in person. But thank you for those of you that tuned in this year for our virtual event.
And hopefully that all went well. I was paying attention, obviously, for selfish reasons, but hopefully
yes.
That went on. And there is a, and for those that missed it, because it's been recorded, you can actually still check it out, right? Is it on the website?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix my technology. Yes, you can still check it out on the website, and we'll be sending out our newsletter, I believe, today with the link. So yes, Ashley, Ryan's bride, was representing Moss Adams as our business of the year. So that was exciting this year too.
And you have an absolute beautiful family. You want to tell us about your family?
Yeah, so he said to send pictures that describe a little bit about you. So we love to travel. This is my husband, Colby, of almost 20 years. In January, it'll be 20 years. We actually met in junior high school, but he was an entire foot shorter than me in junior high. People ask all the time if we dated. No, we did not date at Kasner, but I always say be careful. I tell it was good wisdom for my kids. Be nice to everybody because you never know where your life will take you. And this was us in Aspen. I got to participate in the Aspen Institute. This was Tahoe, and then that was at New York City. We rode bikes around Central Park, but travel is kind of a big deal for us. We love to explore the world. And so this is my family. My daughter, Sophia, is 16. She's a junior at Clovis North. My son, Lucas, is rounding up our long tenure at Fugman Elementary, but working at home. My husband teaches at Fresno City College anatomy and physiology. And then I spend most of my time, because both of my kids play soccer. So every weekend and 3 days a week or 4, I'm at some soccer field. So I don't even know who's playing in this picture, but that describes most of our free time. And then I'm not in the picture up on top because I'm not cool enough to have a picture of me, but I've been leading worship at my church as one of the worship leaders since 1998. So there's a picture of other worship leaders from my church that I included because that's something that's super important to me that I really it definitely fills my cup. So that's just a little bit about me.
That's awesome. And I've known Nicole for years and years and years because her dad's involved in the ag industry, very well known in the ag industry. And so definitely been long-term friends with the family. And it's so great to have her on as a Rotarian and particularly as a board member during my year here.
Thank you. And I have to give a shout out. Bud Dickerson was my sponsor. So Bud, thank you for introducing me to Rotary. I know that originally that was through work at Fresno Pacific, and that was part of his changing of the guard and said you need to join Rotary. But it's just definitely been one of the highlights of my both personal and professional lives. So thank you all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. Love having you on the board there and appreciate all you do for both Rotary and most importantly for the Marjorie Mason Center there. Well, I get to, one of the greatest things to do as a president is to get to introduce new board members. And with us today, we have the mother-daughter dual team introducing a great new Rotarian. So Melissa and Patty White, would you like to introduce our new member today?
I would like to defer to my wonderful mother who brought me into the world, but I don't know, I can't see her on, oh Mom, look at you, have a big head. Usually you're like all scrunched down. Look at you, you're doing good. But you know what, Mommy? I love you so much. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Oh, now I'm not. Oh, yes. I'm so happy to introduce you to Desiree. And she is just an awesome, awesome person. And I know she'll be a terrific Rotarian. She is the CEO of Guarantee Real Estate. And also she has her bachelor's in marketing. She is married and has 3 children. And we have a photo of her, I think, and her family. Do we, Anna? Yes, there she is. Well, okay, Desiree, I just love this photo of you.
Thank you. And it's, yeah, me and my husband, Cliff.
Are you done, Mom? Is that it?
Yes, I'm done.
All right. Desiree has been a part of Guarantee Real Estate for over 10 years. She has been selling real estate. She's been a part of our wonderful community. Her husband, who graduated from Harvard Medical School, dragged her to poor little Fresno, and poor thing, she's just been dragged all over. She was raised in Vancouver, Canada, which is beautiful and gorgeous, so I hear. I haven't had the wonderful opportunity to be there. And she lived in Boston, and then, yes, ended up in Fresno. So she raised her 3 children, and they all went to Clovis High School, and they all ended up being huge successes. Fantastic children who I've had the privilege of being able to meet. And she's got gorgeous grandchildren, 2 of them, and her daughter is moving to New York. Her son lives in Washington State, and her other son lives in Washington, D.C. So he's been giving her a lot of interesting information over the last few days, what's been happening in Washington, D.C. So I will now defer to Desiree. She's been the president and CEO of Guarantee Real Estate for approximately almost 13 months. And we've been very privileged to have her. And she's a phenomenal lady. And I love working for her. So here you go. And have I kicked up enough? I don't know. Maybe I should do it a little bit more, but here's my boss.
Thank you.
Desiree Van Putten.
Thank you. You see what? I love these 2 women so much. Thank you, Melissa and Mama White, as I call her. She's my Mama White. They're just wonderful, and I'm so grateful to them for sponsoring me. And I'm really excited to be a part of this Rotary community. I've even had the pleasure of attending Rotary in other countries. My family, of course, is from all over, but I'm from Canada. I was a Canadian until 2015, even though I've lived here forever. But 9/11 really changed things for me. And that was when I realized that I had been an American for a long time. Was certainly an American at heart. And I've been a Fresnan at heart now since 1996. And we raised our kids here. Our kids attended elementary school at Fresno Adventist Academy. So I know Bud Dickerson and John Berg and Michael Ford. Anyway, we go way back. So I'm super excited to be a fellow Rotarian with them. And we have been really happy here. It's been a wonderful place to raise our kids, and now being a part of this community just adds another level of excitement and participation and a sense of community for us and for our family.
Well, great, Desiree. Thank you.
Anyway, yeah.
No, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you. Thank you to Melissa and Patty for bringing you on board. But we look forward to seeing you in person and giving you a big round of applause when we get to see you in person. But for now, you're going to have to settle for a virtual round of applause as we welcome you to our club. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now it's just about speaker time, and I never do this, but I had to do this because I just saw some similarities, and I never ask our speakers to address a question before we actually get to the speaker, but I feel like if there's a possibility of having Wonder Dog in your blood, that we really should talk about that. So we have a ton of Fresno State fans, and I started putting two and two together. Our speaker today has a hometown of Turlock. And one of our Wonder Dogs back from the World Championship, or the World Series, College World Series team has the same last name from Turlock. So I'm hoping that Lenny at some point can address whether or not he has maybe a little bit of Fresno State blood in him there because of this connection there. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Darren, who's going to introduce today's speaker.
Hey, everybody. It's a great honor to introduce Lenny Mendonca. A little bit about his background. He was the Chief Economic and Business Advisor to Governor Gavin Newsom and the Chair of the California High-Speed Rail Authority. He is a Senior Partner Emeritus of McKinsey Company and a lecturer on inequality at the Stanford Business School. He served on many boards and what have you. Most notably, he was the former chair of the New America and Child Now organizations. He was the co-chair of California Forward and was the co-chair and founder of Fuse Corp. He is the chair emeritus in Bay Area Council, or of the Bay Area Council and the Economic Institute. And he was the vice chair of the Stanford Graduate School of Business Advisory Council. Again, many other boards that he served on. He has an MBA and a certificate in public management from Stanford. He holds an AB, magna cum laude, in economics from Harvard. After retiring from McKinsey Company in 2014, he now lives on the coast near Half Moon Bay with his wife, Christine. They raised their two daughters, Allie and Rebecca, there, and they are founders and owners of the Half Moon Bay Brewing Company, the Inn at Mavericks, and the Pacific Standard Tap Room. Sounds like a great place or a great road trip to take someday. He's the chair and primary owner of Coastside News Group, which owns the Half Moon Bay Review. Without further ado, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Lenny Mendaka to talk to us today.
Thanks, Darren. And it's a pleasure to virtually be in Fresno again. And Ryan, I was actually going to start my talk with the first question I get every time I'm in Fresno, which is, are you related to Tommy Mendonca? And the answer is yes, he is my nephew. And he and his brother and my sister all went to Fresno State and had a great run in 2008. I actually listened to the final game of that College World Series on my 25th wedding anniversary in the middle of the night on the internet in Rome. That's how excited I was about the Fresno State run in 2008. And it was just on ESPN Classics again. They replayed it during the lack of sports on TV during the virus. So it was great to relive it again. So yes, that's my nephew. And so during the time that I was Governor Newsom's economic and business advisor, in the little over a year that I was there, I spent 100 nights on the road. I lived in Half Moon Bay, worked in Sacramento, but the second place that I spent more nights other than Sacramento was Fresno. Was a really important priority for the governor and continues to be, to talk about California for all, and spent a lot of time and still will be spending some time with my friend Pete Weber, who co-chaired California Forward with me, and your former Mayor Ashley Swearingen of the Community Foundation on efforts that are really trying to bring economic development to the Central Valley. That's even more important now, was important before, but still is a priority for the governor. I am just going to be very brief and talk about something that I would not have expected to have been talking about a year ago. The last time I had a chance to talk in Fresno was about the topic that I just mentioned around economic development and regions rise together and the importance of supporting a diverse and inclusive and vibrant, sustainable economy in the Central Valley. But the reason I'm no longer in the Newsom administration is I stepped away in the spring for health issues, and I went silent for a little while, and then started telling people about what happened. And as I was telling them, and my daughters encouraged me to write it down and use it as part of the conversation with people, which I did. I published in Cal Matters this spring that I left because of a severe bout with mental health issues. And the reason I'm raising that is it was something that I am no expert on. My experience has to do with one experience, and that was mine. But by virtue of having experienced it, had the good fortune of having family and friends that were paying attention and got me the right kind of help that I needed, including really high quality medical attention that, because I had good health insurance and good access, I got quickly. And I'm happy to say I'm totally in great shape now and doing fine. But what it caused me to realize after I wrote this article was how inattentive we are to these issues as a society. I've probably written 100 editorials in my life. This one, which was a very personal one describing what happened to me, got more response than anything I've ever written by an order of magnitude. And there were different kinds of responses. There were responses from business leaders asking me to, what should they be doing leading their organization to pay more attention to it. I got responses or questions from former colleagues in the policy world around what else can we do for coverage and quality of mental health care. But the most amazing responses I got were a very large number of them, many from people who I did not know at all, sending me very personal stories about their own experiences with mental health, whether it was themselves, their spouse, children, parents, friends, other family members. And unfortunately, many of them did not end with happy stories. And it reinforced for me that the first most important thing we need to do is to destigmatize the conversation around mental health. Mental health is health like any other issue, any other health issue. I wrote in the piece that a few years ago, I'm a mountain biker, and I fell and broke my leg pretty badly, and I still have a plate in it. And for several months after that, I had a cast on, and whenever you'd see me, someone would say, "What happened?" And you'd talk about it, and if anything, you'd speak about it with pride. If you're a mountain biker and you haven't broken something, you're not a real mountain biker. But it was, you got the right kind of care, you're going to get better, and you're going to be back on a bike again. And that's just the way that it is. And if anything, you're kind of, oh, it's a badge of honor that I have to have a piece of paper with me. Then I go through an x-ray machine to say, yes, that's a plate in my ankle. But if it's mental health, the historical view was you don't talk about it. I had, as I sent an early draft of what I was writing, I sent it to some really close friends and former colleagues. And I had a few people say, do not publish that. If you want to talk about it privately with friends, that's okay, but do not talk about that. It will stigmatize you. You'll ever be known as that guy. And it's not stuff that we talk about. And that just reinforced for me the reason to do it. And I respected their opinion, but that's not what we should be doing. And so I've been using the occasion since I've been back, particularly after Labor Day, and re-engaging again to encourage people to really take this issue seriously. And, you know, if we are, as we are in California, in a situation where mental health is broadly covered by most insurance policies, that's great. But there is a difference between having coverage, seeking and getting that support you need. It's not really helpful if you're in a mental health crisis situation to call and say, yeah, we'll see you in 3 months. That's just not helpful. And particularly in an environment like we're in today, where a lot of the interaction we're having with people is as we are now, and virtually not seeing everyone in person. There are a lot of people who are isolated and feeling depressed, lonely, not very optimistic about the future, and disconnected from the world. That's the bad news. The good news is we have technologies like we are on right now, where you can see everyone and have a conversation and help reach out and provide some kind of support. So I don't want to be a lecturer on this topic, other than to say it is a very important issue. It's something, depending on which statistics you look at, somewhere between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4 Americans will experience issues with mental health sometime in their lifetime. That number has gone up dramatically during the virus. It's particularly gone up for our essential workers and those who are in stressful situations, which includes a very large number of people, and trying to think about the importance of making sure we're connected to our friends, our family, our coworkers, our colleagues, our friends, to actually have an honest conversation about how are you really doing, and being prepared to be supportive and encouraging is really important. So with that, let me stop. I'm happy to talk about that or anything else that is useful. And I appreciate all of what you do as Rotarians and as good members of the community in my Central Valley town, favorite town of Fresno, right after Turlock, where I still have a family farm.
Thank you, Lenny. This is Ryan here. There is a couple questions that, first and foremost, several folks thanking you for coming forward with this and talking about it. And in the chat feature, for those of you that are interested, Darren did post the article that Lenny referenced in regards to that was on Cal Matters there, his opinion piece that he wrote. So check that out. Actually, I'll begin with a question from my perspective. I mean, one thing that's, you did get a ton of traction on that article. I mean, I was one of them that shared it on Facebook as well. And you talked about people coming forward, but you know, when you look back on this now, I mean, it's been what, 6 months, maybe 5 months since you wrote that piece. I mean, it's been shared tens of thousands of times, I think, at this point. Talk about, you know, the outreach from folks, and you mentioned a little bit hearing from folks that you haven't really necessarily knew personally, but it's made a difference, because this is a topic that people just generally don't speak about. But by opening that door, it seems like there has been some progress made for folks here, at least in California.
Yeah, honestly, the most rewarding comments I've gotten, and I'm not explicitly keeping track, but I know it's over a dozen now, are from individuals who said by reading it, they decided to do something themselves, get some help themselves. A family member or a friend that they know sent it to them and used it as a basis to have a conversation and get them some help. So if it was just one person, I'd feel great about it. What it just tells me is that there's more touching and feeling that's necessary out there to help connect people. The more broader response I've gotten is actually pretty interesting to me, from including as recently as a week ago, I was on a phone call with 3 Fortune 500 CEOs who are trying to think about what can they do in their role as corporate leaders, especially in this time, to role model and encourage greater attention to these issues in their workforce, especially in today's environment. And a lot of the conversation, honestly, was about role modeling, particularly for larger companies. Many of them have mental health coverage that's pretty good in their insurance plans, but it's not taken advantage of. And it's not a topic that, aside from medical treatment, that is in the toolkit of many leaders to say that's something that caring for your full well-being is an important part of how you ensure your organization's working well. Interestingly, as part of that conversation, there were a couple of leaders in the entertainment and sports business, and it's a much more common conversation. It's in the arts and entertainment world, it's just part of the dialogue all the time. And in the sports world, most world-class athletes have trainers to help them with their mental health as they do with their physical health. And it's much more commonplace. But in the business world, particularly in high stress, high performing senior levels, it's not a topic of conversation very often. So that to me was encouraging. And then I think the other thing was really this just, I got another one this morning from someone who, it was not a happy ending, but it just reinforces for me, and I don't want to take us down a really depressing path, but these are really serious issues sometimes. And one outreach from one person to someone who's got real concerns can make a difference, is a life or death issue for many people. And I can tell you from personal experience, I was not in that situation, but you don't recognize it the first time you're in it. And even if you've been it before, your mind goes to places of a sense of everything is bad and it's not going to get better and no one cares. And that's, none of those are true. And having, being prepared to help support people, and just, it's not something you can abstract. It's much more reach out and touch someone. That was a lot of what the reaction has been. I am, Brian, I've had a few people ask me, well, will you write something on follow-up, which I will, which talks about some of these things, because a lot of the questions were, well, what can I do? What can I do personally? Yeah. And I think it's why I'm talking about it. I think it's the weirdest response to get is to have people say, you know, you're a middle-aged senior white male who was in a position of power. None of those people ever talk about this stuff. It's like, give me a break. This is what you do as a leader, and it's not something that is a sign of weakness. It's a sign of being a human being.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate what you've done. And a great comment here from Chris Roop. CDC is currently reporting 1 in 3 are experiencing mental health challenges. Another statistic that is alarming is 1 in 4 youth have considered suicide in the last 30 days. We do need to normalize mental health challenges, increase resources, and improve the access to these resources. And I know you mentioned the pandemic helping to play into this for a lot of folks, but I mean, it is the world around us. I mean, it's the constant bombardment. I mean, obviously there's the connection to social media and depression. There's just all the external forces that do put this. I mean, as far as in your learning about this from other folks there, is there a common denominator or just a lot of different stuff for a lot of different people?
I hesitate to generalize because, being able to say, here's what happened to you means that's your one experience. And there are very different things that can bring it on. Clearly, stress, lack of sleep, feeling like you're not getting out and exercising, all those things can make this worse. The social media and kids, particularly teenagers, are particularly vulnerable, as we all know, to episodes of up and down swings that can be really bad. I do want to say one thing, though, as it relates to that, and I actually think this is even more potentially encouraging in the intermediate term for younger people who are digital natives, is the other thing that I've gotten a lot of outreach from is from people with innovations to help provide support in ways that don't require direct physical interaction or waiting in line in our traditional healthcare system. As an example, I've never met my doctor who's treating me. All of our interactions have been virtual. And the ability to utilize technology for providing counseling support, and there's some particularly true for younger people, of um, and I don't want to overstate what the technology is, but technology informed text interventions, texting, just to connect with someone and use that as a signal to elevate the issue can be really helpful. There are really inexpensive offerings that many companies are now providing just as part of their normal employee benefits package to help support people around these issues. So while there are horrible things that this virus and the lack of our ability to connect in person have done, it's also created a lot of opportunities for more willingness and opportunities for telehealth and telesupport services that I think are not going to go away when we're able to see each other. Just particularly in people who are in more rural settings, or it's a burden to get to in person for someone. It just radically extends the possibility to provide high quality support.
Absolutely. In the remaining minutes we have left here, I don't want to completely leave the subject, but I do want to give an opportunity just to talk about some of your memories from your, was it 15 months or so with the governor's office? I mean, you got to, this governor jumped in with 2 feet. Obviously was extraordinarily ready to take on when he, obviously as lieutenant governor was prepared, but most importantly, when he was elected, he did take a very serious transition and brought some people on board to really start hitting the ground running. And you were a part of that team. Talk about, successes and challenges. Obviously this pandemic was a very big deal, but prior to that, you had just over a year of time to really get some things done that I know the governor was very proud of in his first year there.
Yeah, and to be clear, I loved my time, and had I not had these health issues, I would still be there. There was the reason I left was for health issues, not for any disagreement with what the governor was doing and is doing. We're obviously in a very different environment. I left right in the beginning of the pandemic, but when the early days in particular, being able to help set a economic and business agenda that was really about, in a lot of ways, embodied in the work that the Fresno Drive initiative did in terms of a regional orientation to the state. It's just such a different state in different parts of particularly east-west rather than north-south. The importance of innovation and continued business growth and development of opportunities for people to stay in California and not feel like if you want to expand, it's just too expensive and impossible to live in California and do business. So the expansion needs to come outside if you can. Huge amount of work to still be done in that area, obviously, not the least of which is it is just ridiculously expensive to purchase a home or to pay rent in the state, as we all know. And the among the biggest economic challenges for the state going forward is housing production at a much larger scale to bring down that cost of housing and the ability for people to afford to live here, your kids to afford to live here. And then trying to do that in the context of what, we always think that this fire season was the worst fire season, and it feels like the worst fire season is the one that we're in at that time. And the fact that we are going to continue to be subject to dramatic effects of climate change in the state of California, and how do we do all the innovation and growth and inclusiveness at the same time we're going to have to prepare for and deal with the costs of changing climate for us is really, really important. So all that I think is an important agenda and still continues to be an important agenda. I think the thing that I honestly spent more time on than anything and felt like we were starting to make a dent, although there's still an enormous amount of work, was what we called Regions Rise Together, and trying to reorient the mental map of California to be much more appreciative and focused on and understanding the needs and opportunities in the Central Valley and the Inland Empire in particular, which are the largest and fastest growing part of the states that don't get anywhere near the representative voice in Sacramento or as much attention as they need to. So those were the things that I was excited about. I think we will be in a different environment, not just because of the virus and the economic environment we're in, but obviously the change in January and the White House will alter the relationship in very different ways. We'll see how it actually plays out, but I think we'll, with the vice president being from California, vice president-elect being from California, and the sets of relationships that many of those in Sacramento have with what will be the incoming administration, I think it will be a different environment.
Yeah, appreciate that. And Lenny, I've got maybe 1 or 2 more minutes here. Any closing thoughts before we move on?
You have my contact information. I'm happy to talk to anybody offline. I'm not in a position of in the government anymore, but happy to talk with you. I appreciate the time and look forward to the chance to head to Fresno in person again. And thank you. It brings back good memories of that College World Series every time you bring it up. So thanks for bringing it up, Ryan, and have a good rest of the afternoon.
Appreciate it, Lenny. Thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely, I got a lot of comments. I mean, just very appreciative of you taking the time to speak to our Rotary Club about this issue. I know you've heard that many times, but I don't think you truly understand how much it does make a difference for folks to be able to hear this firsthand, because it's not something that's typically discussed. In fact, this is my first Rotary meeting we've ever discussed this topic. And obviously, this is a bunch of business leaders, and I'm sure it's issues that other folks are going through. So we appreciate you, what you're doing there.
Okay, thank you.
And with that said, at this time, I'm going to move on to, we did have a Zoom poll question today, and Anna's going to close that for us. And give me 1 second here. So, wow, I bet this is a big difference from previous, but overwhelmingly, great majority staying home and cooking at 54%. And there is a few that are going to stay close by and dine at family/friends. But obviously with the pandemic, it's been very much switched, but the planning the travel was only 5 folks, 10%, which I'm sure is much different than what it historically would be. So thank you so much to those of you who filled that out. Appreciate that. Now moving on to Mr. Dick Harrington, who has a couple of recognitions for us today.
Thank you, President Ryan. Deborah Rush, would you make sure you're unmuted and come on board? Deborah is heads up the Breaking the Chains organization here in Fresno, and she has their organization has received a special reward from the FBI. And Deborah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you so much, Richard. Yes, so Breaking the Chains was acknowledged with the Director's Community Leadership Award. It's a very prestigious award that we are incredibly humbled and honored to have received. I believe there's a little video cut that Anna's going to be able to play for you that's going to tell you a little bit more about it, actually a lot more than I could tell you right now about that award and why it's not just important for Breaking the Chains, but important for the Valley.
I am Sean Reagan, Special Agent in charge of the FBI Sacramento Field Office. Our office proudly serves communities in 34 of California's 58 counties. Relationships with the communities we serve are as important as partnerships with federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. We cannot successfully fulfill our mission to protect the American people without the support and understanding of the community and support of community organizations. Each year, the FBI recognizes outstanding individuals and organizations who make significant contributions to their local communities through service. FBI field offices nominate these outstanding partners to receive the FBI Director's Community Leadership Award. Recipients of this prestigious award include individuals and organizations that have identified some of the most challenging problems in the communities and have stepped forward to address them. This spring, the 2019 recipients of this honor plan to travel to Washington, D.C. to receive their award from FBI Director Christopher Wray at a ceremony at FBI headquarters. As was the case with many events, COVID-19 forced the cancellation of both the local award presentation and the FBI Director's Community Leadership Award ceremony in Washington, D.C. Despite these cancellations, we want you to know about the FBI Director's Community Leadership Award recipient from our area and the great work they do. By way of this message, I am formally announcing that Fresno nonprofit Breaking the Chains is the 2019 FBI Director's Community Leadership Award recipient from our region. Breaking the Chains is an organization that does truly outstanding work in California's Central Valley. Deborah Rush, founder and CEO of Breaking the Chains, established the organization to help survivors of human trafficking heal from the complex trauma and challenges victims experience. The FBI fights tirelessly to combat human trafficking, often working with our federal, state, and local partners to identify traffickers and recover their victims. Our agents and personnel aggressively investigate reports of human trafficking, disrupt these crimes, and dismantle the networks that treat human beings as mere commodities. However, the FBI and our local law enforcement partners need the assistance of community organizations to help victims of human trafficking begin the healing process and move forward with their lives. Our partners in the community provide vital resources that our victim services specialists can link victims to, ensuring they have a chance to break the cycle of violence and exploitation. Deborah and her team at Breaking the Chains provide a variety of services to adult and juvenile survivors through their journey of recovery and healing. These services include shelter, trauma treatment, non-residential service programs, including drug counseling, job support, and housing. We know the work of Breaking the Chains firsthand. We are thankful for assistance Breaking the Chains provided to a human trafficking survivor recovered during an FBI operation. Breaking the Chains located and funded a recovery program for the victim, enabling this survivor to begin their recovery and healing journey. We are grateful for the opportunity Breaking the Chains provided this survivor and many others. Recovery from a life of being trafficked is a journey that is smoother with strong and caring support Deborah and her team provide. Breaking the Chains also provides education and training programs to the community and local law enforcement agencies. They have increased awareness of the complex reality of human trafficking and the impact these crimes have on both victims and the community. To Deborah and her team at Breaking the Chains, congratulations for receiving the FBI Director's Community Leadership Award for our region. We are grateful for your partnership, support, and collaboration to help combat human trafficking in the Central Valley.
Deborah, congratulations to you and all the staff at Breaking the Chains. That's a terrific and tremendous award, and you and everyone there are to be congratulated over and over. Thank you for all that you're doing in our community. And because you're doing so much in our community, I'm sure you would like to be recognized for that work at the Fresno Rotary. So if you would tell Ryan how much you appreciate that and would like to ring the bell, we'd appreciate that. And I think you're still on mute right now, Debbie.
Well, yes, thank you so much. So before I tell you that, I want to thank all of Rotary who is still here right now. I want you guys to know that you have largely made this possible. Funding directly from Fresno Rotary has made a lot of the services that we have possible and continue to be possible, and even helping with the opening of our new rescue center. So with that, we'd like to give 3 rings.
Great. And Deborah, I'm doing the whole ding, ding, ding thing for you because I don't got my bell today. I'm at home with some kids, but nevertheless, congrats. Thank you so much for all you've done on that.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Okay. Thank you, Dick. Appreciate that. Moving on, any last minutes raffle tickets? You have literally less than a minute to get your last raffle tickets in. It's a huge one today because it's over $100 worth of gift certificates to restaurants, and a 50 of that's to the Manhattan. And I know we have a bunch of Manhattan fans here as part of Rotary. For next week, our presentation, our program is going to be Bill Stretch, the general manager of the Fresno Irrigation District, who is going to be giving a presentation on a century of commitment, conveyance, and customer service. The Fresno Irrigation District serves to protect and manage the surface and groundwater resources within their district for present and future use by the people and lands within their boundary. Bill will discuss the district's past 100 years and what's in store for the future. And for those of you who, I'm sure you all know, you live in the Valley and the importance of water here. And I know typically it's ag that gets a lot of that attention because water does drive us. It is truly the blood that makes this whole region go. But it also is important to our residents, to our cities, and to our other businesses that do rely upon a reliable water source. And so Bill's going to come talk about that because a lot of folks don't know that when you turn on a tap in Fresno and Clovis, you're most likely getting that water from the Fresno Irrigation District. So join us next week for that. And now is the fun time. Miss Anna Pine is going to draw the winner for our raffle this week.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to the Manhattan Restaurant. Thank you to Mocello's Tapas Bar and Pardini's, which is near Pardini's, and the Cheesecake Factory. And today's winner is...
We had one person win 2 weeks in a row, right? So
yeah, there's a couple people that keep winning repeatedly. All right, and the winner today, and we're collecting more items too. So if you want to promote a business or support or gift, we have today's winner is Bill Lucido. Congratulations.
Oh, Mr. Bill, congrats. You got some fancy takeout now you can go pick up for the family. So with that said, thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate all you do for the Rotary Club of Fresno. We will see you next Monday. Thank you so much. Have a great one.